Welcome, everyone, to the Inner Compass podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Cotten. I am so excited to be back hosting podcast. My goal for 2025 is consistency. I was a little bit embarrassed and a little bit ashamed when I looked at my end of the year wrap and I saw that there was only 15 podcast episodes. I couldn't believe that there was only 15. We know there's 52 weeks in the year. There should have been 52 podcast episodes. So we're trying something new and I am going to be performing, what a funny word. I'm going to be sharing the podcast episodes live on YouTube. So I'm going to be going live on YouTube, recording live for all of you. So there are multiple ways that you can view this. You can watch it if you're someone who's like me. I love to watch podcasts the video format, or if you're like, I want to listen to it, both are going to be available. So whether you're listening this on Apple, Spotify, or you're watching on YouTube, all is going to be available. And I'm really going to push myself. I'm going to buy a travel mic. So even if I'm traveling, I'm going to be able to host this podcast on on the go, wherever I'm at. So if you're tuning in, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for staying with me, even if I have not been consistent. This is evidence and proof that you can still go after your goals and dreams and not be as consistent as you want and make it happen. Okay, so today's podcast episode is Act as If, Do Not Spend as If. And what that means is stepping into the identity, stepping into the embodiment that I already have the life that I want. Let's say, for example, you are working towards your first 6 figures. Let's say you're working towards your first 7 figures, right? We have this energy, this embodiment that I need to act as if I already have that life. And what happens, the traps we get stuck into is, oh, well, if I'm already embodying the 7 figure energy, the 6 figure energy, well, let me start shopping like her. So then you start shopping and you're spending as if you're already in that 6 figure identity or that 7 figure identity. And what happens is you start to make financial decisions through the wrong lens because you're not embodying the identity, you're actually embodying like the wrong identity, because the identity of the 6 figure, the 7 figure earner, she's not making financial decisions out of this energy of, well, one day I'll be able to pay it off. One day I'll be able to do this. One day I'll be able to do that. No, the person who is acting as if is working internally. She's showing up for herself every single day. She's stepping into that identity that I know one day I'm going to become a 6 figure earner. I'm going to become a 7 figure earner. But if I start spending like her, well, then I'm actually not bridging the gap. I'm pulling the gap away from when I can step into that identity because I'm not acting as if, I'm spending as if. And so if you start spending through the identity that you're a 7 figure earner, what's actually going to happen is you're going to get into debt. You're going to make misaligned actions. You're going to do misaligned statements. You're going to spend in ways that are not in alignment with the version of you. So how do you act as if without spending as if? How do you do that? Okay, so when you ask yourself, what does that look like? We start off with your morning routine. Okay, so what does your morning routine look like? How could you step into the morning routine of a 7 figure earner, of a 7 figure entrepreneur, as a 7 figure corporate girl? How would you step into that morning routine? Oh, you might want to wake up and go for a walk, right? That would be acting as if, not spending as if. Well, then maybe you're like, well, this version of me is getting coffees every day. Okay, so then ask yourself where I'm at today. Maybe I'm not in alignment to buy coffees every single day, but maybe I can every other day or a few times a week. So again, it's acting as if, okay, how would I dress? All right, maybe I'm not able to afford the things that I want to in that lifestyle as a millionaire, as a 6 figure earner. Okay, but where can I dress in the same energy, right? Looking my best, feeling my best. So then again, it's going back to the identity of acting as if, not spending as if. And a lot of times we'll say, well, the future self will be able to handle it. She'll be able to handle that debt. She'll be able to handle XYZ. And what you're doing is you're setting her up for failure, not success. Because you're going to get into this debt cycle, this guilt cycle of when I'm spending in a way that looks like this, someone else is going to handle it. And it's not taking accountability or ownership for where you're at today. Because embodying the identity isn't really about the external, it's about how you're feeling internally, how you're showing up internally, what that looks like, what that feels like. And before you know it, the rest of the world will catch up to that energy and that identity. So again, acting as if is not spending as if, because spending as if you're a seven-figure earner is going to lead to debt, stress, and financial insecurity. And that financial insecurity is actually going to tell your subconscious, we can't handle more money. Because if you can't handle the money you have today, if you can't handle your finances today, if you've got poor money management skills, you've got a poor money mindset, if you're not able to step into that identity today, your subconscious will actually block you from more abundance. Because what's happening is your subconscious says you are not safe with money. If you don't feel safe with money today, how are you going to be able to call in more money? Your brain will actually block you from opportunities. It'll block you from experiences where you could actually generate more money because your subconscious is saying, we don't feel safe with more money because the money this person has today, she can barely manage it. She's got debt, she's got guilt, shame around money. Bringing more, we know, amplifies those feelings. So your subconscious mind will block you from those experiences. So the best thing you can do today is, right, we're acting as if, meet with a financial advisor. What would it look like to set yourself up for success? All right, maybe I'm going to watch, maybe I'm not ready to invest in a financial advisor, but maybe I can start watching financial advising YouTubes. Okay, I can start watching these YouTube videos. I can start learning and growing. Maybe I can work with a bookkeeper. All right, where is the best way to use my funds? What is the best way to plan for the future? Okay, so then we're getting all these things in place. Now, this is where the beauty comes in. You get to do this internal work. This is where we look at the relationship you have with money. Are you afraid of money? Do you believe money is going to help you? Or do you feel like money is going to make people feel a certain kind of way around you? I read this interesting, it was either a book or a YouTube. I'm not really sure, so don't quote me. But the person said money has two sides. There's an angel side and there's a devil side. And whatever energy you show up for money, that's what gets amplified. So if you show up with the energy that money is evil, that's what's going to amplify in your life. But if you show up with the lens that money is prosperity, money allows me to be generous, money allows me to help so many people, that is what's going to amplify. So you can really start by rewriting your money story. Okay, so what is your money story? Your money story is your relationship with money today based off the past. Okay, are you someone that constantly gets into this debt cycle? I know an individual, their debt cycle is like 30K. All right, I had 30K in student loans, paid that off, and now all of a sudden, a few years later, 30K in credit card debt, paid that off. Okay, now it's like house repair. So it's like this 30K number. So then you got to ask yourself, where does your subconscious keep blocking you from feeling safe to release the debt, good and for all, not repeating this cycle? And when you pay off the debt, what's blocking you from having a savings account, from having that surplus? So as we go back to this identity and this energy of acting as if, okay, so when we think about stressors, when we think about money stressors, we can ask ourselves, how would the version of me who has no debt, how does the version of me who has financial surplus, financial security, how would they handle stress? Well, they would probably say, I'm going to find out a solution. They would probably say, how is this working out in my favor? They would probably say, who do I need to call to help me with my finances? They would probably say, What things need to change so I don't get into this situation again? So when we're acting as if, we're taking our day-to-day habits and we're stepping into the identity. All right, I'm a 7-figure earner. I'm a 6-figure earner. I'm going to show up through the lens that I can achieve my goals without needing to spend more, right? So if the version of you that is working towards a luxury lifestyle, you're wanting to take the summer off to go to Europe, you're wanting to travel, you're wanting to eat at restaurants. All right, but if your finances don't reflect that today, you can still do a shortened version of that. You can still treat yourself. You can still embody the version of you who's ready to do that. All right, maybe you're not able to travel, but can you watch YouTube videos of other people traveling? Beautiful. Can you watch other people's hotel reviews? All right, this is the hotel I would love to stay at. Oh, this is a restaurant I would love to eat at. Oh, maybe I'm not able to afford the car, but maybe I can go test drive it. All right, so I'm going to act as if I'm going to visualize driving the car. Maybe I'm going to go to the dealership. I'm going to look at the car. I'm going to test it out. I'm going to see, how does this feel to be in the car? All right, maybe your goal is to stay at a certain hotel. Okay, maybe if you can't afford to stay at that hotel, could you go to the restaurant and eat there? Could you see if they have any events going on and then go to one of their events? Like during the holiday season, so many hotels have free events and parking will be included. For example, I live here in Orlando. The Four Seasons has so many events. Last weekend, I was at this art gallery and I went to this art gallery. It was in the Four Seasons. A few weeks before that, they had a pop up with Love Shack Fancy. And so, all of these different experiences of the luxurious version of you can get micro or like a taster menu. So, what you can do is you can get this taster menu for the life you want without having to spend that money. So, embodying this identity of acting as if, not spending as if. And we can do small changes, small tweaks to your schedule, your routine that really allow you to embody that energy. The energy that you are worthy and deserving of stepping into the financial lifestyle you know is destined for you, even if your 3D reality doesn't reflect it today. So, some things that you can start with is your morning routine. Another thing is how you dress, how you eat. Maybe in your dream life, you have a private chef. Okay, maybe you can't afford that today. All right, but you could meal prep. So every day your meals are ready. You might be creating them, preparing them, prepping them, but you have all the meals ready for you as if you had a private chef. So when we're thinking about this energy, this identity, and this embodiment work, it always goes back to, how would I act? How would I think? How would I feel when I have the life that I want? Okay, how do I handle stress? How do I handle excitement? How do I handle difficulties with my friends and family? And when you lean in through that lens of how you handle all of those things, you're setting yourself up for success to be a magnet for that life that you truly want, that you're working towards. Because it's just law. When you show up, the law of assumption, when you show up every single day for the life that you're working towards, it's only going to be a matter of time for your mind and your reality to sync up. First in our mind, second in our reality. And so when you are really wanting this impulse of shopping, this impulse of buying, and you're like, well, I know there's a version of me who's going to be going on shopping sprees. She's going to be staying at the most luxurious hotels. She's going to be enjoying life to the fullest, the most abundant, luxurious life. And you're not there today. Ask yourself, where can I do a taster menu of that life? And how can I start embodying that mindset and those aligned actions so I can get to that version of me who's already that, who's living the most abundant, luxurious life? If I notice that I'm paying my bills and I start to get anxiety or I start to feel a panic, how can you work through those money blocks today? So when you make more money, you generate more money, you're no longer showing up with this anxiety. You're no longer showing up with this guilt, this shame. So this identity of keeping up with the Joneses, right? That's actually my maiden name, is we're no longer keeping up with this rat race because we're just working on our internal world, our internal identity, how we feel about ourselves, how we show up for ourselves, our own worthiness, our own self-love. And when we lean into that, truly, the acting as if will become who you are. And you no longer have to act, and you no longer have to pretend, because you have embodied it at mind, body, and soul. And before you know it, you're going to be showing up as her. People are going to be interacting with you as her, and your 3D reality, everything you've ever wanted, everything you've ever desired, will show up in your life. But when we get that little spike in our mind that's like, go shopping, and you're like, I don't have that money, and you're like, well, she would have that money. Again, then you take a step back and say, in this moment, I don't have the money. It's not financially responsible for me to spend as if, but I can act as if. So thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast live. If you are watching the replay, comment down below your favorite takeaway. And if you're listening on Apple or podcast or Spotify, send me a DM on Instagram on your favorite takeaways. And I will catch you next week for the Inner Compass podcast.